All right, everyone. Welcome to the 22nd episode of the Next Man Up podcast. We are back after our summer break. Hope you guys all missed us. We sure missed being here, and we had a great summer and happy to be back now that it's football season. Rich, how excited are you that it's finally football season?
I am super excited. I'm in 5 fantasy drafts, 5
Yeah.
weeks. Super pumped for that. First game tomorrow night. Bucks
Mhm.
should destroy the Cowboys. Can't wait to shut
Yeah.
up those obnoxious Cowboy fans in the media. Always sucking the Cowboys wiener.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I heard that this like broke the record for like the most expensive average ticket for a inaugural game of the NFL season. So the tickets are like ridiculously priced and stuff,
Everyone's waiting to go to a game. They can
right?
finally
Yeah.
go. People are gonna be dishing out that money.
Yeah. So today we are going to be, since the football season's right around the corner, we're going to be talking all football today. So if you're not interested in football,
See,
well, yeah, later. But hopefully you're interested, and if you have some comments, questions, feel free to shoot those into the comment section, and we'll try to address those on the next podcast. If you hate who we're picking and stuff like that, make sure to let us know. And if you like who we're picking, you can let us know that too. So we're gonna pretty much go division by division and pick kind of the win losses for each team, and then who we think is gonna win each division and wild cards and all that stuff. So with that information, let's jump right into it with the AFC North. Rich, what are your win loss projections for the AFC North?
okay, well, I have the Browns winning the division at 12-5. And then after the Browns, I have the Ravens at 10-7, the Steelers at 8-9, and the Bengals at 4-13.
Oh wow. Um, yeah, I mean that's pretty close to mine in general. I have Baltimore winning a couple more games. I have them at 12-5, like you kind of had the Browns. I dropped the Browns to 11-6. Pittsburgh 8-9. I think we were pretty similar there. And I actually have the Bengals winning a couple more games at 6-11. I think they kind of have some winnable games like down the stretch, and I think they're going to take a little bit to find their groove. But I think the Bengals, them being a young team and stuff, hopefully are on the up and up. So yeah, pretty similar there. But I have Baltimore winning the division, and you have Cleveland. So why do you think Cleveland's going to win it?
Cleveland's roster, like Baker at the end of the season, everyone like kind of rips on Baker for that offense and stuff, but like his efficiency and not turning the football over down the stretch last year, like he played very well. You also get Odell Beckham Jr. back. Like if he's healthy, he's going to demand that second team, that the double team. It should make it a little bit easier for Baker to kind of spread the ball around. That whole offense should be better, and also with them winning games, that's going to keep Odell Beckham Jr. happy if he's not getting the ball. So I don't see a huge like rift with Odell Beckham. Like you kind of did when they started with the Browns and they were doing bad and things like
Yeah,
that. I don't know. I think this could be like the
yeah.
Browns year to make a little push in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, my opinion on the Browns is I think they have one of the best offensive lines in the league right now. I think they have one of the best defensive lines in the game right now, and we always talk about how important it is to win those battles up front, and that kind of helps out the rest of your team. They also have, a great 1-2 punch at the running back position and a great 1-2 punch at the wide receiver position. So all around, you look at their roster, and I think it's one of the most talented rosters in the entire league. But the Browns be the Browns still, and they lose games that they should win, and that's kind of why I kind of knocked them down a couple games here and there. But I think 11-6 is still a decent record. So
Oh yeah.
uh, and they come in just under the Baltimore Ravens for me, because I feel like the Ravens are that opposite thing. Is like even games where they don't look like they're playing that well, they somehow find ways to win games, whether it's a long Lamar run or something like that. And the talk about good defenses, Baltimore should have one of the better defenses in the league again this year.
Actually, I don't know. I think Baltimore's defense is going to be a little bit like down this year. They lost some pass rush. Their pass rush isn't going to be that
Yeah,
good.
that's true.
Their safeties are they're like the middle of the pack. Their
Sure.
corners are good. I will give them that. They have one elite corner. The other guy does very well, but their safeties is like the downfall in that back end. So if they're not getting that pressure, I feel the Ravens D could get a little bit carved up at times with these like better playoff teams.
Yeah. And then the other teams in the division, the Steelers and the Bengals, I think a lot of people have the Steelers winning, 9, 10 games. I don't really see it this year. Big Ben's getting older. They've proved last year that they really couldn't get, passing attack going or, a run attack going. They won a lot of close games on playing good defense last year. And then down the stretch, that defense started falling apart a little bit. I think that's going to be more how the season's going to go for this year. I think we both had them at 8 wins. I think that's pretty fair.
I do too. So that's the AFC North. Adam, we're going to move on to the AFC South. What is your take for the AFC South?
Yeah, so I have the AFC South as one of the weaker divisions in football this year. I have the Tennessee Titans winning the division at 11-6, Indianapolis Colts 8-9, Jacksonville 4-13, and then Houston. I have them at 3-13, and I think they'd be lucky to even win 3 games without Deshaun Watson back there.
Okay, so I'm going to go right with you with the Titans. I have the same record for the Titans at 11-6, winning that division. I gave the Colts an extra win. I have the Colts at 9-8 in the division. Jacksonville, I have them at 2, but I can see them surprising a team kind of down the stretch or like in the very beginning, because I feel like the first couple weeks, everyone's going to be like, it's Jacksonville.
Right.
And like roll over them. I think they might be able to surprise some people. And then my bold take is Texans going 0-17 this year. That team, I do like, they just have like players. There's like, I cannot think of one player on the Texans right now where you're like, man, that guy is really good. He is like one of the best at their position.
Right, yeah.
Except for maybe that offensive tackle. He's kind of in the top.
Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah, Laramie Tunsil. But outside
their offensive line still struggled a lot last year, even with him back there. And that's with Deshaun Watson, making plays. That's why I was saying I have him at 3-13. I think if anything, I put them high. I think they'll probably win. I think that's like their ceiling, in my opinion. But I kind of had to like find ways to get them wins, and it was tough. So
I'm not doing that. They're losing.
It's rare to see a team lose every game. It's rare to see a team win. Lose more than 12 games. So like I said, I think 3-13 is their ceiling at this point. And Jacksonville, maybe an extra win. Obviously, they play the Texans twice, so that could be 2 wins, out of the box for them already. So, neither one of those teams I think are going to be very good. The Colts, I think, are one of those teams that I think if any of my projections are kind of low, it could be the Colts, because they still have a pretty stout defense in general. They still have one of the best offensive lines in the game, but I don't really trust their quarterback situation, whether Carson Wentz is playing or not. And they have kind of some age going on in some places, and I don't really trust them to make it to 9 or
They're having issues at receiver. They don't have like a true number 1 receiver. They have a bunch of like number 2s and 3s for the Colts.
Yeah.
You got Carson Wentz, who again with Frank Wright did very well. That was his MVP like season.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with you on that. The Colts were like kind of hard because I'm just like, man, like that defense is so good, but like kind of need to see a little bit more out of like the offense. But I could see them, even though I have them at 9-8, I could kind of see them winning 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can. That's kind of where I was at. I have them at 8 and 9. And like I said, out of all the teams, this is one of the ones I was looking at saying like, I can see them, getting a game or two more and, making a push for the playoffs. But, I kind of have to see it, and I don't trust their quarterback situation, and that's kind of typically a recipe for disaster as far as the NFL goes. But um, yeah, that kind of surprised me even when I saw them kind of that low. But I think regardless, Tennessee wins that division. They still have one of the best running backs in the league. Their defense is, not bad. They're not going to, lose you games. And then they should have a decent 1-2 punch at the receiver position this year with AJ Brown and Julio Jones. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, that should actually be. I'm actually excited.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited for that, for sure, because that is definitely, it's going to be nice for Julio Jones to play alongside another number one. So I'm very interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, and who our team is going to double team and stuff like that. Is it going to be Julio or is he going to get single coverage because the double team's going elsewhere, stuff like that.
Yep.
So I'm really interested to see kind of how that works out. And obviously their red zone game should be pretty dirty. Being able to hand it off to Derrick Henry, or you have Julio in the back of the end zone. That's kind of a recipe for success. I still have some questions on the defensive end, but I do feel like regardless, they win that division.
Yep, I totally agree with that. So moving on, AFC West. I have the Chiefs winning that division at 14-3. Then I have the Chargers at 11-6. Then I got the Broncos at 8-9, and then I got the Raiders at 5-12.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. I have Kansas City going 13-4, and then I have Chargers going 11-6, like you did as well. But then I have the Raiders and Denver both at 6-11. So I think a little bit lower for the Broncos than you had. As far as the Chiefs go, we all know, we've seen them for a couple of years now. Their offense is damn near unstoppable if Patrick Mahomes is playing up to his standard now. A little bit more questions on the offensive line this year after I think they cut both their tackles.
Off season though.
Yeah. So I mean, not saying that it's going to be bad. It's just a little bit more of a question mark than I'm used to seeing on that team. And then their defense, they don't rely on their defense to win them games, but they shouldn't oftentimes lose them games. So I don't have them losing that many games. In fact, I think I have them tied for the best record in the whole league. I think 13-4, in my opinion, is kind of their floor. I think they have potential to go undefeated, but you don't see that very often. So I think 13 is kind of the minimum for them, and I think they should easily take that division.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Patrick Mahomes, stud. I think they did a good job in the offseason with that offensive line, bringing in new guys. I do give the Broncos a little bit, a couple more wins here, just because like that defense with a healthy Von Miller,
Yeah.
I feel like that defense is going to be solidified again. They're going to be better than what they were last year. And then the offense, too. They're getting Cortland Sutton back. They have Teddy Bridgewater, who, again, Teddy Bridgewater isn't going to be like lighting up the stat sheet, but he does a very good job of moving the chains, keeping that defense on the sideline, getting them that press to where I feel like they could kind of get a couple more wins out of that by resting that defense.
Yeah.
Even though the offense might not be scoring every single time and things like that. So that's where I'm at with the Broncos.
In general, I think their schedule is decently tough. And obviously they play in a division that I think has two of the better teams in the league right now, and the Chargers and the Chiefs. I think the Chargers are one of those teams that have shown promise the past couple of seasons, and I'm kind of expecting a big move forward from them this year. Justin Herbert definitely looked pretty good last year, despite the offensive line really not being up to par. Keenan Allen's kind of, we've known what he's been able to do for years since the Phillip Rivers era. So I'm really expecting them to kind of take that next step forward and become one of the better teams in the league. I still don't have them overtaking the Chiefs or anything like that, but I think they're going to be a tough team to beat for sure.
I totally agree. The Chargers too. Also, again, it's those injuries on like defense that really
Right, yeah.
last year they had a couple starters. Like I think it's Derwin James. Their
Derwin James, yeah.
When that guy is out, their defense is a totally
Yeah.
different like unit out there.
And then I think Joey Bosa missed a lot of time last year as well. So yeah, I think their defense should be better this year. They're one of those teams that year after year, I'm kind of expecting them to be almost better than they have been. They lose a lot of games. It's oftentimes a missed field goal or a blocked field goal or a turnover late or something like that that ends up. They usually end up losing by 1, 2, 3 points, something like that. But I think like I was kind of saying, I think with Justin Herbert another year, them kind of shoring up that offensive line a little bit more than it's been in the past. I definitely think they kind of do take that next step forward this year, and I think they get to 11 wins should be again kind of like a floor for them if they can really put their shit together, I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean I totally agree. Again, the other thing too with Herbert is he going to have that sophomore slump? Because that
Mhm.
tends to happen sometimes with a lot
Yeah,
of quarterbacks. All these teams have that lot of game film to go over now,
yeah.
and he make the appropriate adjustments in year 2, or our defense is going to capitalize because he's not correcting what he needs to.
Yeah, I feel like year 2 is that year, right? That's like that you either make your biggest jump or your biggest like kind of step back, and I think that happens for a lot of guys. You um, Josh Allen, for example, took a big step forward, but even looking at a guy like Mitch Trubisky, kind of lost a step in his second year. So, he showed a lot of promise kind of in his first year, and then kind of took a big step back, and was never able to recover. So you see that a lot. It's either that step forward or that step back in the second year. So I'm expecting kind of a step forward with that offensive line getting better, but yeah, it's kind of a risk there, I guess.
Well, I am definitely hoping he takes that step forward because I have him in 3 out of my 5 fantasy leagues. So I'm expecting big things from him. So I hope
I
there's
have
not a big decline there.
I haven't been one of the three, so I'm also hoping for that a little bit too. Yeah.
All right. Nice. So AFC East. Who do you got, Adam?
All right. Well, I think almost more so by default. I think the Washington football team wins that division.
AFC East?
Oh, I'm sorry, AFC East. I went over to the
AFC.
NFC East. All
Yeah.
right. Well, talking about Josh Allen. Anyway, I have the Buffalo Bills winning that division at 12-5. Then I have Miami Dolphins going 9-8, which was a little bit surprising to me. Patriots, who a lot of people are like getting really high on again this year, I have them all the way down at 6-11, and then the Jets, I have them at 3-13. And again, that's more of a ceiling than an expectation for the Jets. I think if they win 3 games this year, that'll be kind of like a positive for them.
You have the Jets at again?
3-13 or 3-14.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to like make sure because they did add the extra game
Yeah.
here, which that threw me off a couple times when I like was writing the stuff down. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh nope, it's right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Mine is a little bit different here. I think the AFC East is actually going to be one of the better divisions this year. In the AFC, I got the Bills going 13-4. I have the Dolphins going 11-6. Patriots 10-7, and the Jets 2-15. I don't see the Jets winning a whole lot of games.
Yeah, so we're similar there at least. We're similar on the Bills, similar on the Jets. So the top and the bottom we're pretty close on. I guess we were pretty similar in Miami as well. It's just that the big difference is Patriots. I have them, not doing that well. Mac
Still,
Jones
the
stepping in.
Patriots, their quarterback, like a very good game manager.
Yeah,
Offensive line still like at like top 5. I'm gonna say maybe
sure.
6.
Yeah,
I think the Patriots defense is always playing right up there. So
sure.
like Mac Jones is kind of like right now he's like a kind of Teddy Bridgewater guy. As long as he keeps moving the chains and eating up clock,
Yeah.
Patriots are going to win like how they normally do. They don't need Mac Jones sitting there trying to drop like 350 yards and like 3-4 tutties a game to like win. I feel there's going to be a lot of like play action, a lot of rolling out. Their receivers are kind of up in the air. Their tight ends are very good if they stay healthy.
Right.
So
yeah, they picked up a lot of tight end help this offseason. So yeah, I think that's kind of going to be a strength of them. I just have a lot more questions than answers, I guess, on them. I think they can be pretty good. Again, they're playing in a tough division in general with the Bills and the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are one of those teams that should take a pretty big step forward, I think, this year. And just looking at their schedule, I think they play a couple of tough teams, and they'll have a rookie quarterback. And I know Bill Belichick is kind of known for developing a quarterback because of the whole Tom Brady thing, but I don't think it's gonna click 100% right out of the gate. Like a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people kind of projecting 10 or so wins for them. I mean, maybe 6-11 is more so a floor for them than a projection, but I don't really see them getting to 10 games. So obviously you do. So, but I guess we'll see. And especially if they, with them cutting Cam, not even just kind of making him the second guy in. If something happens to Mac Jones, I don't know, who they're gonna play in there at all. So that'll be an
say another
interesting.
guy, Jason, like
Stidham.
Stidham or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
probably do fine. But the Patriots also, you can't keep Cam as like a number 2 though, as well, just because like he demands so much like media attention. He is like,
Yeah.
he's still a good quarterback. So to go the other way, like Cam's not going to sit there and hold the clipboard and kind of like be okay with that. So I think that's the issue that Cam's running into right now is he's demanding that like starting job wherever he goes, but it's just not like a realistic thing at this point unless like a quarterback goes down and gets hurt. Then you'll see Cam Newton's probably going to be the first guy they call.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple teams out there that probably could use him, but are kind of just letting it roll with whoever they have on the roster. So that'll be an interesting situation to see if he ends up on a roster at some point this year. But again, we'll see. I mean, that's another one that I've looked at, and I was like, okay, yeah, that might be a little low for projection, but I guess we'll see how the season plays out. I know their defense is usually pretty stout, but I don't see them being even like a top 5 defense or anything this year. And I think Miami kind of taking that step forward, I think kind of surpasses them in my eyes. So that's, I guess, all my opinion on the AFC East.
All right. So to wrap up the AFC, who are your division winners and who are your wild card teams, Adam?
All right. So from the AFC North, I had Baltimore taking the division, and then I had Cleveland winning a wild card spot. That's it from that division. The AFC South, I had Tennessee Titans winning the division and no wild cards from that division. And then AFC East, Buffalo Bills win it. I have Miami sneaking in on a wild card spot there. And then AFC West, I have Kansas City Chiefs winning it and the Chargers getting in on the wild card.
Oh my God, yours is almost the same as mine. AFC North, I had the Browns winning the division, Ravens taking the wild card, AFC South, Titans, AFC West, Chiefs, Chargers and wild card, AFC East, Bills, then Dolphins. But I had the Ravens beating out the Patriots at the same record of 10-7, and the Ravens getting that tiebreaker.
So
for the season.
We literally picked the same teams ending up in the playoffs. A little bit different way of getting in there, but yeah, same teams make it for the AFC.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive.
I'm wondering if we have the same thing going on for the NFC. If we have the same teams winning divisions and going all the way.
Possibly.
So
Find out.
What division are we starting with for the NFC?
Let's go. Let's start with the NFC South.
South.
We
Cool.
want to save the North for last because that's our home team.
Repping. All right. So yeah, NFC South. I have Tampa Bay winning it. I think that should not really be a surprise at 13-4. Then I have the Saints in at 9-8 still, despite losing Drew Brees. And I have Atlanta Falcons. This was kind of a shocker for me, even when I was doing my projections to win 9 games and go 9-8. And then I have Carolina going 8-9. So I have this division being a pretty good division as far as, record wise. Nobody, like Jets bad or Houston bad or anything this year. But yeah, almost all of them are having a winning record, but Tampa kind of running away with it and winning that division.
Okay. I kind of feel the same way. Here's my other bold prediction for the NFC. I think the Bucks are going to go 17-0, and the Texans are going to go 0-17. First year with 17 games. I think we're going to set some records, hopefully. With that, because Bucks return everyone.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it almost sounds like Antonio Brown is playing a lot better, which is going to cause even more problems and issues for defenses. And then I have the Saints coming in at 8-9. And then I have the Falcons and Panthers both going 6-11. Again, this is a weird division, no matter who's good or not. They kind of beat up on each other. So the Falcons and Panthers, they might win one extra game there, but I'm still going to lock them both in at 6-11.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I look at Atlanta and at 9-8 on mine, and that's one of the teams I'm like, when I looked at it, I was like, man, I think I might, have them a little high. That's definitely one of the teams I can see, not quite getting to 9 games. I think their defense will be slightly better this year. Still not one of the best defenses in the league, and their offense, did click last year. They put up a lot of points. They, had a lot of yards. Calvin Ridley's coming back. I think Kyle Pitts, adds something that they haven't really had from a tight end position in quite a while. So I think their offense should be really good. Obviously, they lost Julio Jones, but as far as the receivers go, they've been fine without Julio. As much as he's been out and everything. The Saints, obviously, a lot of questions at quarterback now that Drew Brees retired. So is it going to be Taysom Hill? Is it going to be, what's his name, who throws all the interceptions?
Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston.
If he keep his interceptions down, Saints could they could make that a division because he did throw for like 5,000 yards and like 30, 40 touchdowns the one year. So,
but I think he also had like 35 picks that year or something.
I think it was more like 26.
Maybe I'm including like fumbles and stuff as well. He turned the ball over a lot.
Yes.
But yeah, I know Taysom Hill is also, expecting to win that starting job, and I think technically they gave it to Jameis Winston. But I think 9-8 is pretty fair. I can see them maybe winning or losing one more game from there out. But yeah, I think that division will be pretty decent, but not, probably only the Bucks get 10 or more wins, I think.
Okay. All right. Next division is the NFC East, the shithole division of the league.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the worst divisions in the league, as it has been for quite some time, as far as total wins and just altogether just as a talent. But I do have, as I kind of alluded to earlier on accident, I have Washington football team winning that division at 10-7, and I think that's pretty fair for them. They have a really good defense, especially up front. So I think they're going to win a lot of games based on getting sacks and getting turnovers and putting away games on the ground as far as their run game and stuff. There are a lot of questions still offensively for them, but I think 10 wins is pretty fair there. As far as then I have Dallas going 9-8, which I think is almost more than fair for them. Philadelphia at 5-12, and then the Giants going 4-13.
So. Yeah, that is like so close. All right, I have Washington win the division as well at 11-6. Then I have the Cowboys as well at 9-8. As much as I hate the Cowboys, that offense is still very good.
Yeah, yeah.
If their defense can hold up for a couple games, I still feel the Cowboys definitely have a winning team, winning record. But
Sure.
that's where that is. Then I have the Giants at 6-11 and the Eagles at 5-12.
So we have the same record for the Eagles, but you have the Giants winning a couple more games.
Yep.
I think for the Giants, it'll depend a lot on how healthy does Saquon come back. How much of an impact does Kenny Galladay make? That's probably the best receiver that Daniel Jones has ever passed to in his career.
No, he passed to Odell Beckham before he left.
I guess, yeah. I guess, but Odell, I don't even think wanted to be there that year. I forgot they even played together.
Yeah.
That was the year that they benched Eli, wasn't it, for Daniel Jones?
I believe,
Eli's last year.
I think so.
I don't know if he even played that whole year with Odell. Um, they probably got some time together, but yeah, Kenny Galladay, if he stays healthy, is still a good receiver, but definitely has had some health issues. But I mean, and then defensively, they played pretty well. So I think it'll a lot ride on how well Saquon comes back. Can they pound the football? Can he still, move the same way after an ACL tear?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Giants really, I think it's more Daniel Jones than anything because I think Saquon will be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the first maybe 4 or 5 weeks, he might look a little not himself
Right.
kind of thing, but he'll get his stuff together. It's more, can Daniel Jones push that ball down the field to not have that 7, 8, or I'm sorry, having that 8, 9 defensive box for Saquon.
Yeah.
And Daniel Jones take advantage of that.
And not turn the ball over too, because he's another one that throws some interceptions. He fumbles a lot, and so again, if you can take care of the ball and they can rely on their defense and run game a little bit more, that'll definitely help them out.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't see him doing it. So
yeah, and then I have we both have Philadelphia at 5-12, and I think that's one of the teams that if Jalen Hurts plays as good, if not better, than a lot of people are projecting him to play, I think they can push to win more games than that, but. We'll see because their defense is still okay. They have some aging players in some areas. I don't trust their run game very much. I don't trust their receivers very much. But if Jalen Hurts can really make plays with his legs and play well, then I can see them winning a couple more games than that. But I still don't see them making the playoffs.
I I would 100% agree. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts will do fine, but I don't think he's gonna light it up. I think he's
Right.
gonna struggle. I think he'll come out of the gate pretty strong, but then he's gonna kind of start going downhill because of kind of defenses adjusting to him and
Sure.
that. And again, the receivers aren't the greatest. They've also been hurt. And no, that was the Ravens. Never mind. I'm getting my receiving course mixed up.
Yeah. But they
Yes.
pretty much have a whole new receiving core this year. They got rid of Alshon. They got rid of pretty much everyone that was starting for them. They kind of cut loose. So they're pretty much starting over there, and as good as
number one pick from last year, and
the number one pick from this year, yeah. So we'll see.
All right. So moving on to the NFC West. What do you feel about the NFC West here?
I think, in my opinion, I think the NFC West is the best division hands down in football this year. Going into this year, I think this will be kind of the toughest division to play and beat. As far as how their teams like offensively and defensively. And of course, the Bears get to play this division this year. So, yeah, I think the Bears play the two best divisions in the league, the NFC West and the AFC North. So, but anyway, talking about the NFC West, I have the Arizona Cardinals surprisingly winning that division or the San Francisco 49ers. I have them both coming in at 12-5. So it's kind of a toss up for me as which one ends up winning the division. But I think they both they win 12 games. I think both of them are going to be two of the better teams in the league this year. Then I have the Rams at 11-6 and the Seahawks at 10-7.
Wow, oh man, okay.
Yeah, so I have them all winning 10 or more games.
Jesus.
That
That like
whole division.
that sucks too, because 4 teams can't. Well, yeah, I guess they
Yeah.
technically could, but
Yep.
okay. I don't see that happening. But so with NFC West, this was the only division I like had to do it where I split all the divisional games.
Yeah,
I think
same.
they're just gonna take one from each other. I don't
Yep.
think any of these teams is gonna beat a division rival twice. So
Right.
I just want to start off with that.
I did the same thing. So
Yeah. So for the 49ers, I have 49ers winning the division at 12-5. Then I have the Rams at 11-6. Then I have the Cardinals at 10-7 and the Seahawks at 9-8. I still, as much as I like Russell Wilson, I do not trust that defense.
yeah.
That defense is so suspect.
Yep.
I think Russell Wilson finally has like a legit number one receiver in DK Metcalf. So that's going to help Tyler Lockett even more. And
Yep.
he's already a great receiver as well. But
Yep.
the
Very
Seahawks
fast.
offensive line still is kind
Always questionable. Yeah.
of it's still pretty bad. So I have the Seahawks at the bottom of the division, but still with a winning record. But I agree with you. That's the best division in football right now. And this is definitely the hardest one to kind of
Yeah.
go through here.
So we picked the Cardinals, we picked the 49ers the same. We picked the Rams the same. You had a couple less games winning for the Cardinals and one less game for the Seahawks. So, I mean, we're still pretty close. I just have them all winning 10 or more games, which, looks insane for a division to be that good, especially when you look at the past, as far as the NFC, there was teams making it into the playoffs that didn't even win half their games, didn't even go 500 and stuff. So it's crazy to see. It would be crazy to see a division as a whole go, be this good.
Yeah.
But I for the Cardinals, I think they lost a lot of games last year on penalties and stupid last minute plays and stuff. I think Kyler Murray is one of the better quarterbacks in the league right now. If he can take a step up, he did some things with his legs that I've never seen another quarterback do before. And D Hop is still one of the better receivers in the entire league. And then on the other side, Buda Baker is a very good player, and that defense should
Very
be
fast though. DK made that known.
yeah. So I think they're going to be pretty stout. And I mean, I might have given them a game or two up because I projected them like months ago to win that division. And then I sat down to do it and I was like, shit, that's the hardest division to win. So I might be a little high on them for that reason to kind of keep my prediction true. But I think they should be able to win a lot of games. 49ers, their biggest question mark is the quarterback position. But as far as the rest of their team
If
goes,
Jimmy G's healthy, that offense will be fine. If Jimmy
yeah,
G goes down, Trey Lance will be fine. Like
yeah,
the
they're gonna win.
49ers got killed with injuries on defense
Yeah.
last year. Like four or five of their starting defensive players were injured for the season. They were just gone.
I remember that 1 week. I think they had only 3 of their starters playing total
Yeah.
because their team got hit by like COVID and then they already had some injuries and stuff like that. So like out of their 22 starters, I think 3 of them were like playing in the game at all. And they
Yeah.
still like almost won games like that, marching out like Nick Mullins and stuff like that last year. So I think they're going to win a lot of games defensively if that defense stays healthy. Yeah, my biggest question mark, like I said, is the quarterback position, but I don't think they should have to do a whole lot if their defense is, kind of playing up to par, and they typically get the run game going pretty good. So, and then obviously they still have one of the best tight ends in the league. So, I think that's enough to get them to 12 wins. Should win at least 10, I think, for them. I think that's kind of their floor, as long as they stay healthy.
Yep. I mean, I could agree with that. That's the biggest thing with making picks at the beginning before the season starts.
Yeah.
Everyone's healthy. All it takes is one or two guys to go down, and the
Right.
team easily tailspin in the wrong direction.
Yeah. And I think the Rams are one of those teams that, should be good offensively, should be good defensively, very well have potential to be a top 5 in both offensive and defense. So obviously that's a recipe for success. I think again for them, kind of their floor for me is 10 wins. So, but they have a decently tough schedule, and I think that's kind of the only thing that's knocked them down a little bit for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. It's the hardest division, and just like you said, like as much as I don't have it, I don't have all 4 teams making the playoffs, but that could be a first to have all 4 teams in the division make the playoffs if
Yeah.
things kind of fall a certain way, which it could happen.
Sure. Yeah.
For sure. So, all right. Our division, the home division, NFC North. How do you see this playing out, Adam?
All right. It might be a little bit of home team bias, a little bit, might be a little hopeful, a little bit. I have the Bears winning the division, but I only have them at 10-7. Then I have Green Bay going 9-8, Minnesota going 8-9, and Detroit only winning 4 games and going 4-13. And before, you say much, again, we are playing the AFC North this year and the NFC West, who, in my opinion, are probably the 2 top divisions in all of football this year. So it's going to be tough for any teams in our division to get wins. I think 10 wins is reasonable for the Bears if they can play good defense, if they can get some sure play out of our corners. I think that's one of the biggest unknowns for us. I think our pass rush should be good. I think our receiver core has gotten better. The offensive line has gotten better, although still kind of some question marks there. But I think a lot of the teams in the division haven't really gotten much better. Should be trotting out pretty similar, if not worse, teams than what they did last year. So, how do you think things shape out?
So I have the same thing. I have the Bears at 10-7 as well. And again, home team kind of biased there for sure. Like, again, I'm with you. Defense should play well. I feel Justin Fields is going to start by week 3 or 4, or I could even see him coming out after halftime against the Rams if Andy Dalton's not moving the damn ball. Like, to be perfectly honest, I could see that happening and stuff like that, because I also feel that that's a good move too for the Rams and Justin Fields in general, just because the Rams are scouting for Andy Dalton all week.
Yeah.
Now you throw in Justin Fields after like halftime. The defense they're not going to have plays ready for Justin Fields. So you're going to be playing more of a base defense.
They did announce, Sean McVay announced that they are prepping for both quarterbacks, which is probably a smart move by them, but I'm sure they're prepping for, Dalton over Fields at this point because we've named him the starter. But Sean McVay did come out and say that they are prepping for both the quarterbacks, which obviously I think is a smart move.
Yeah, that is. I have not heard of that. So good move by him then. Then my total statement I just said for the past minute means nothing. So
he's still hard to prep for. So, we'll see.
Hard to prep for 2 different quarterbacks.
Right. 2 very different quarterbacks. Yeah.
Okay. I also have the Packers going 10-7 as well. I think the Packers are going to struggle the first couple weeks here with their top tackle outs.
David
for the first couple
Bakhtiari.
weeks. Yep. So he's going to be out. I think the first couple of games they have are against good pass rushes, and I think they're going to take advantage of him not being there, and he's going to put a lot more pressure on Aaron Rodgers. Then I have the Vikings going 10-7. And have the Lions winning one game, maybe two. I don't think the Lions doing pretty much a whole lot of anything, but
Yeah,
I am going to put the Lions a little bit better than the Texans with one, maybe two wins for the Lions.
sure.
So that's where I have them at. The only weird one, too, is the Vikings because they return a lot of the same guys. The offense with Justin Jefferson in his second year, he should be actually better, but I don't know. Does the Vikings defense take a step forward with Zimmer, or do they kind of stay the same? Because if the Vikings defense plays a lot better, they're one of those teams where they could easily win another almost handful of games there if that defense plays good.
Yeah, I think that's another one. I had them at 8 and 9, and I think that was another one that I was looking at it being like, I could see them winning 9 or even 10 games. I think it'll be tough. They don't, I feel like even when the Bears are not at their greatest, we like somehow find a way to beat Minnesota like more times than not.
Yeah,
The Packers and Minnesota always play each other really tough. I had them kind of splitting in general.
yeah. Then
And
everyone
then,
beats up on the Lions.
but again, just kind of the sheer schedule is hard. Playing the NFC West, I didn't really have the Vikings winning. I don't think I had them winning any of those games versus the AFC West. And then I think I in the NFC or the AFC North, I think I only had them, beating Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. I don't really see them beating Baltimore, I think, or Cleveland. So I think that'll be kind of tough as far as scheduling goes. Unless, I think the team that wins the division is going to be the team that plays the best within the division. I think that's kind of going to be key, this year more than ever. Um, but I don't know. Like I said, it might be, home team bias a little bit. But I think the Bears, it's reasonable to expect that they win 9 or 10 games. And I think that could be good enough to win this division, only because, like you said, I think the Packers might struggle a little bit out of the gate, losing their center left in the offseason. They'll be a tackle short. So, like I said, I think their offensive line got worse. They didn't really do a whole lot to help, the receiver position at all. I don't think their defense got much better in general. So I don't see them being even as good as they were last year. And then, throw in kind of the Aaron Rodgers drama with it. Is he going to leave after this year? He didn't really practice a whole lot. He didn't, play in any preseason games. Not that he usually does, but, is there going to be any sort of rust there? Is there going to be any sort of like kind of resentment from coaching staff towards him or him towards coaching staff that could cause some issues down the line? I think there's just more question marks there than there's been in the past with that team. And I think last year they surprised a lot of people with Matt LaFleur's kind of game, having another year of watching that film and stuff like that, and another year of Aaron Rodgers possibly slowing down. I think they kind of take a small step backwards.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is gonna slow down. I think he's Aaron Rodgers is gonna play well. He's Aaron Rodgers. He's a great quarterback. As much as I hate the Packers, not a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Still an amazing quarterback.
Right.
He'll be fine, but when he gets pressured, it's the same thing with Brady. When they
Yeah.
get pressured, they get super pissed. They get thrown off their game, and they just they could have some pretty crappy games if guys are constantly in their face, because then they start just yelling and screaming at everyone else on the offense because it's not going the way that they want.
Yeah. And I think if I remember right, I think because of that game that got added to the schedule to make it 17 games, the Bears drew the Raiders, which I think is easily a winnable game for us. But
Yeah.
I think the Packers drew Kansas City, and that's literally kind of the swap as far as going 9 and 8 and 10 and 7 to me is I think we drew an extra winnable game and they drew an extra tough one for them.
Yeah.
So again, we're playing a really tough schedule this year, and then they also get the Chiefs thrown at them. So I think it'll be hard for them to get to 10 wins, to be honest. And I think they might start a little bit slow. And I don't know. Obviously, they have a history of kind of making a run late to make the playoffs, and I don't think they're going to be able to do enough. I think that middle of the season, that beginning of the season, then into the middle is going to be really tough for them.
All right. So with the NFC, who's your division winners and who's your 3 wild cards?
So yeah, again, Bears winning that division at 10-7 for the NFC North. The South, Tampa Bay kind of cleans house at 13-4. The East, Washington football team kind of barely wins that one with 10 wins again. Then for the West, just to keep my prediction from earlier, I'll go with the Cardinals winning the division, but I have them tied with San Francisco again. And then as far as wild cards going, I do have, you kind of mentioned it earlier, weirdly, I have the 3 wild card teams all coming from the NFC West. I think the teams that don't make the division make the playoffs anyway, because I think their record is going to be good enough to get them there.
All right. Nice. So mine is NFC North. I do have the Packers winning the division, tied with the Bears at 10-7. NFC South, I have the Bucks taking that. The NFC East, I have Washington. Then in the NFC West, I have the 49ers winning. And then my wild cards are Rams, Cardinals, and Bears. I don't think Seahawks are making it to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think if, in my opinion, the most likely scenario out of the teams that wouldn't make it in the West, I think it would be Seattle. And then the teams that I would say are most likely to kind of make a push for the playoffs would be the Packers and the Saints, and possibly Dallas, depending on how they play within their division. Yeah, but I don't think Dallas will deserve to make the playoffs again. But I think most likely, if it's not going to be the Seahawks, I think it'll be the Packers.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that going as well. Cowboys is such a weird team too, because like it really does revolve around Dak, and then he just hurt his shoulder. Like, he coming off that ankle injury and surgery and all that, and then like during drills from throwing and stuff, you hurt your shoulder now too. Like, I'm not too. All these people are super excited for Dak. He's gonna light up the stat sheet and all this stuff. I don't see it with those injuries yet. If he stays healthy all season long, I could see the Cowboys really pushing Washington for that division.
Yeah.
But I don't see Dak making it the whole season.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the big thing for the Cowboys is Dak is used to having the best offensive line in football, and I think every year their offensive line since he's been there have gotten worse and worse because they're getting older, they're getting injured, they're losing guys to retirement. So I think he's going to be playing with his worst offensive line of his entire career, and I think you take even a split second away from Dak, and I don't think he's gonna perform quite as well. Not saying he's gonna play bad or horrible or anything like that. I think he'll still, be slinging it. But like I said, I think that offensive line is going to matter a little bit more than people are expecting for Dallas.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, thank you, everyone who watches and listens to the podcast. That is our cast for the day. Our records for football right before the season starts. So if any of these are correct, we could say we told you beforehand. It's on record. It's going to be on the internet. So it's going to be there.
Same way if we're wrong, then everyone can make fun of us and be like, oh, you only picked, this team to win this many games or whatever. And then we might look like idiots. So we'll see.
Please call us out, random people that randomly stumble upon our cast here. Please be more vocal so we can try to incorporate you guys into the cast a little bit more moving forward. So thank you to all the fans, and good night.
Yeah, see you next week.